Okay, I want to start off by giving all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim, Rakat, Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who teacheth the Bible in 100% truth. And shalom to the hopeful elects of the 12 tribes of Israel, especially the 144,000, who consist of the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans in the land of the Americas, as well as the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners living amongst the other nations. Shalom to you. Okay, yeah, today's video, actually, it's the second time I've done this video. You know, I've been having this problem with the mics. I had one mic, then I had a new desktop, so I couldn't use the old mic, so I had to get a new mic. I didn't like that mic. Then I bought a third mic, and the third mic's been messing me around. So now I've just come back to mic number 2. So I kind of did this. Well, I did already do this video a couple of days ago, and yeah, the recording came out. Wasn't clear properly and all that, so I had to just scrap it, and I'm doing this particular topic again for the second time. But so what happened in the last couple of days? I just want to say this before I start. So I use, hang on, I use this particular browser here, Brave, and you know, so I'll open up like a page here for Brave, and but really I want to use Google, so I've got the Google icon here, and I can just choose Google anytime I need. So obviously every time I open up a thing, I just click on Google and I go with Google's. And the reason why I use Google is because obviously if I'm going to show information, then I want it to be on a search engine, which obviously is common for anyone. So if you want to find the information yourself. But the reason why I use the Brave browser is because if normally at the end of the night you shut down the PC, and I've got all these. You can see all these little tabs open, and so you think, like, for me, for example, like the spirit always hits me in the night. I don't know why. Like that's just what it does. So like when I first came in, I had the vision that was around midnight, and then a few months back, I had these revelations, and that was happening in the night. So for me, I don't know why, for some reason, like now, I want to go to bed. I'm trying to like stop myself from sitting up late all the time, sleeping late in the day, and then dragging myself out of bed. I've been doing that for a while. So I'm trying to like be not like normal people, as I say, go to bed at midnight and wake up at 8 in the morning. But here I am now. It's 1:45 in the morning. Actually started the video, it was 1:44. So, and I want to like kind of really, I should be telling myself, oh, look, I should be in bed. But because the spirit hits me at this time, this is why I usually do my videos at this time. So, but what happens sometimes, I don't do a video, but I'll sit here for a few hours looking up all these different tabs and information. I'll put bits together and I'll say, yeah, I want to use that. And then you go through the process of bookmarking everything, because you think, oh, now it's 4 in the morning or 6 in the morning or whatever, I need to go to sleep. So then you end up bookmarking everything, and the next day you open up the bookmarks, you open up all the pages, and that's kind of long. So the reason why I use Brave, like for the last 2 nights, I had these bookmarks open, and the first night I did the research, the next night I made the video, then I realized an hour and a half was a waste of time, didn't come out properly. So then the next night I couldn't do it because I had to get up early, and then I had to be up early that day, so I had to kind of force myself to go sleep. And then I'm here again tonight now, so trying to do my second take. And so obviously these tabs I've wanted open, and I wanted them, whatever I've done, however I've kept them, what part, what point I scroll to or whatever, I want to keep it as it is. And so that's the beauty of Brave, because where I get into that situation, normally if it's like the end of today, I'll shut down the top right hand corner. You can see I'll shut down the application, and then I'll shut down the desktop and go to bed. But with Brave, if you don't close it, so like you see here, obviously you would press this X to close it, but if you don't close it, if you leave it open, when you shut down the PC, the next day, I shut everything else down and I'll just leave Brave open, and the next day when you click open to Brave, it brings everything back exactly how you had it, exactly where you had it, and all that kind of stuff with it. So, like I say, I've had these tabs open for the last few days, and I don't want to keep like sitting there with the bookmarks, and because at the end of the lesson, I'll just close all these. I won't need them again unless I really need to. So that's why Brave, like I say, I just click on Google, comes to Google, but with this particular browser, it's good for that. So, but anyway, take two. This topic is based around reverse engineering. Reverse engineer. So it's a phrase. When you live your life, you look around you. There's a lot of things, lots of things in the world that are around you, and a lot of them come from the basis of reverse engineering. Even if people they've never heard of the phrase, or they don't have a way of labeling that thing that they're able to do. What they're actually doing is reverse engineering. Reverse engineering is the process of analyzing a product or system, sorry, to understand how it works. And then replicating or improving it. It involves taking something apart to learn how it was made, and then using that knowledge to recreate it. Reverse engineering is often used when it's not possible to buy replacement parts from the original manufacturer. It's a common practice in software, mechanical, electrical, and architectural fields. So, I think Apostle Tahar mentioned this just over a week ago. He mentioned this phrase, reverse engineering, and I think he brought out an example of, for example, in Iran or the Middle East, they'll get hold of Western weapons. So, for example, you've got the situation in Afghanistan, and the US were there for years, occupying, and then a few years back they decided to leave all of a sudden in a rush. So during that process and many other different processes, sometimes process of war, or sometimes it's something else. In the Middle East they'll get hold of Western weapons, and they'll get it into their own hands. And so what they'll do, you'll see them on the news. You'll see the sort of rebel fighters parading these particular weapons that they've got their hands on, which initially belonged to, were engineered in the West, maybe the US or the UK or wherever. But then at some point it gets into the hands of the engineers, within, say, like Iran, for example. They'll get hold of weapons from other nations, especially westernized countries, and they'll look at them, they'll dismantle them. It says reverse engineering is the act of dismantling an object to see how it works. It is done primarily to analyze and gain knowledge about the way something works, but often is used to duplicate or enhance the object. So before I go on, I said the word engineer. You have the chief engineer of the universe is the Most High Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, in the name of his son Yahushai. And obviously we go back to the book of Genesis, that will tell you that we have the Most High, then we have Yahushai. He's the first spirit created, and then there are other spirits created after that. And then the book of Genesis talks of the powers, rather than people see the word God and they say, oh, God made the earth in 7 days. Well, it actually tells you that the powers, the angelic beings, obviously there were spirits made, the first one being Yahushai, others were made, and so they took the blueprint from the Most High on how to build the earth. This is Psalms chapter 19. This is the works and the word of the Most High. And so this is King David. It says here, the heavens declare the glory of the Most High, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. It says, day unto day uttereth speech, and night unto night showeth knowledge. It says, there is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard. Their line is gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. It says, in them hath he set a tabernacle for the sun, which is as a bridegroom coming out of his chamber, and rejoice as a strong man to run a race. It goes on to say, he going forth is from the end of the heaven, and his circuit unto the ends of it. It says, and there is nothing hid from the heat thereof. It says, the law of Yahweh is perfect, converting the soul. It says, the testimony of Yahweh is sure, making wise the simple. So, when you initially read that, for example, it says, the heavens declare the glory of the Most High, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. So, we initially, you think, well, you look around within within the firmament, and you see the handiwork of the Most High. You see the ecosystem, you see the trees, the water, the clouds, the sun, and everything, and you realize that's the handiwork of the Most High. But this is actually talking about the internet, because when you go on to verse 2, it says, day unto day uttereth speech, and night unto night showeth knowledge. There is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard. It's the voice of the prophets. It says, their line is gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them hath he set a tabernacle for the sun. So that's the internet, which is taking this word, as it says there, their line has gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. How can you make your words go to the end of the world? You do that with the internet. It says, in them hath he set a tabernacle for the sun. And that word sun, S-U-N, representing the light. So we come with the knowledge, we come with the understanding, and that is the light, the understanding. You're an Israelite. This is why you're going through these particular scenarios, because of the curses. This is the history of your people. This is the history of the other nations, and this is where it's taken us. It says here, which is as a bridegroom coming out of his chamber, and rejoiceth as a strong man to run a race. Because when you run a race, a strong man, and he's getting ready to run a race, he psychs himself up. So he'll pump his fists, he'll make noises, and so you can do that some people do that when they find out this truth. You find out, you think, some people, when you get to a point where you really contemplate this truth and you realize, wow, I actually have this identity that I never had. It was hidden from me, and it makes you, you feel strong in the spirit. So it makes you kind of, almost like you want to pump your fist, and psych yourself up with it. It does. It psychs you up, because you say, well, you're finding out mysteries that were hidden, not just from you, but from many for ages. But it says here, his going forth is from the end of the heaven, and his circuit unto the ends of it, and there is nothing hid from the heat thereof. But even when you go back to verse 1, you, like I say, you go to the heavens, declare the glory of the Most High. Even just to look at everything that you see under the sky, the ecosystem, everything in what they call nature, and even to see the human beings and prophecy taking place, see it come to pass. We're shown how the Most High controls these people. We see all that, and we that within itself, to us, having this understanding, is speaking to us. It's declaring something to us. When we see it. But this is Colossians chapter 1. Apostle Paul speaking to the church of Colossus. It says, the incomparable Christ. It says, who hath delivered us from the power of darkness, and hath translated us into the kingdom of his dear Son. It says, S-O-N, as in, Father, Son. It says, in whom we have redemption through his blood, even the forgiveness of sins, who is the image of the invisible power, the firstborn of every creature. So this is, we're getting a breakdown of Yahushai. The firstborn of every creature. Obviously, he was the first spirit made. He took the blueprint from the Most High Yahweh. You could say chief engineer. He gave him the blueprint, and he went out and created other spirits and created the earth. Um, it says, "For by him were all things created that are in heaven and that are in earth, so visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers, all things were created by him and for him." It says, "And he is before all things, and by him all things consist." It says, "And he is the head of the body, the church, who is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, that in all things he might have the preeminence." It goes on to say, "For it pleased the Father that in him should all fullness dwell, and having made peace through the blood of his cross, by him to reconcile all things unto himself. By him, I say, whether they be things in earth or things in heaven." So, you have a brief description again of Yahushua. Obviously, he took the blueprint of, it clearly tells you, the firstborn, the first fruit. He's the first spirit made. It says, "Who is the image of the invisible power, the firstborn of every creature." This is by him were all things created that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible. So we look around and you see the things created within the earth, the ecosystem, things we call nature. We see the people, we see the way things play out with the design of human beings, not just their physical design, but the design of their minds and how they're controlled by these spirits. And that's we have that understanding. It's given to us. So looking at it from that point of view, and then we go back to reverse engineering. And, the scriptures tell you that Esau is wiser than Daniel, and also Esau is known for being a cunning hunter. Now he uses that hunting technique, for example, when he goes into war. He covert fields by violence, and so that's a cunning hunter at work. And his prey will be humans, basically, when it comes to war. That's the ultimate. Animals don't get killed. You get a few maybe die here and there, but when it comes to war, it's pretty much humans that are being killed. But on another level, that hunter mentality, Esau applies that to science, and he, like I said, Esau is wiser than Daniel. I've said it before. Esau will go to the level of taking a blade of grass and cutting it in half, and dissecting a blade of grass just to find out what's inside it. We don't have that in our nature. We're spiritual people. We see things around us. We understand how they work, and we just go with it. You could have, like I say, reverse engineering is a phrase. Now, some people just see it through the spirit. They see things around us. They say, well, this is reverse engineered from that. And that's the spirit that's put on you, whether your eyes are open to it or not. So that's something like that, works through the spirit. But even though those people don't understand the phrase of reverse engineering, but Esau, he hunts these things down. So he goes to detail. He looks inside of things. He looks in the air. I've gone into that before. And he finds out what's in the air. To us, it's air. Air's air. Don't worry, man. It's cool. Air's air. We can breathe it. It's fine. It's clean. Doesn't smell. I'll deal with it. But Esau wants to know what's in the air, and it's that hunting down, to the finest molecule, and that's what he does. So, and because he does these things, he's able to phrase it, and thus he's come up with this phrase, reverse engineering. So, like I say, you could say reverse engineering is, like taking something like you've got the act of people in the Middle East getting hold of Western weaponry, dismantling it, realizing how it's built, and building more just like that to use against their enemy. But then it goes into, technology, like modern day technology. When you go to the shop and you're choosing between goods, you want to buy a particular item, and then you have different manufacturers, different brands and so on and so forth. And what these people do, they reverse engineer each other's each other's like handiwork, if you like. So hang on, let me just, because I forgot to bring up this one page actually. I was thinking about this one. So you got this you got these G wagons, for example. I know Apostle Tahar was showing the Chinese vehicles which spin in a circle 360, and the Germans have it as well. Don't forget the Germans are, they're known as the tribe of Teman in the scriptures. So out of the Edomites, they're known as a wise tribe, and so you'll find them in Germany today, a lot of them. And so for example, Apostle Tahar, brought out the Chinese. They got these vehicles which turn in a circle. It's also the the um, the Germans, the Temanites, that have obviously got this technology. Now, what it is, I'm not sure who exactly did it first. Um, whether I believe the Germans did it. I believe that because I saw the G wagon one do it first, and what happens? They're able to make this vehicle turn on the spot 360 degrees, and this is probably a good one here. So what they do is they turn 360 degrees. Apostle Tahar was highlighting some Chinese cars that were doing the same thing. You see, what it is when you're buying technology, there's quality and then there's technology. So what you'll find, for example, in the Far East, they're good with technology. They've got hold of things from the West, technology, and they've reverse engineered it. So they know how to build what they build in the West as well as building their own things. What you'll find when you go to, for example, places like Germany, they'll have technology, but their quality level is probably what's they kind of hold more higher than the technology. Like, to give you an example, you look at the weight of one of these, like a German G wagon. You look at a Chinese version, the weight, and the Chinese one are way less because the thickness of the steel, the gearbox, the thickness of the housing around the gearbox, all these types of things. In China, they'll use slightly thinner materials. So what they then do is use the technology they got, and they're able to put together the same item that they do in Germany, but they'll do it for half the price. What you're paying when you pay for the G wagon is you're paying for the technology, and you're also paying for the quality in the thickness of the metal around the car. And that's why you can bash someone at a junction, at T-bone them, and send them flying into the shop. In a Chinese car, they'll have the same level of technology, but then they'll do it for cheaper because they use, for example, sheets of material that aren't as thick, or so on and so forth. I mean, they can put together thick, high quality things if they want to. It's all about how much money they want to spend. But again, this comes back down to reverse engineering. Like I say, I don't know who exactly came up with it first. The Chinese, they're far ahead when it comes to technology, but so are the Temanites, and they both got these vehicles. You could say the first two nations in the world that are showing us vehicles where they spin in a 360 degrees circle. So it's not a surprise that you're seeing it out of those two. What they're doing. So what's happened, right? I mean, really, the technology. I tell you what it is. It's so normally on one of these rear wheel drive cars, what happens? The rear wheel drives and the front wheels are just there to steer. If you go around the wet on a bend, let's just say you're turning that direction left, this wheel can spin out to the right. When it spins out to the right, you lose control. You spin in a circle, you crash. So then you have a thing called traction control, which is not new. It's been going on for a good couple of decades. You have traction control, and what traction control will realize is that you're skidding this way, it works it out because it realizes that that wheel is spinning too fast, and then it will make the other wheel spin faster, and it will pull the car back straight. So in between the gap in the middle, there's actually a gap, a break. The rear axle differential. Obviously, some people they weld them so the car can't do that. The car can't fix itself, and then they go out joyriding and doing donuts. But in the real life practical world, you want the traction control off. It's on, sorry, because it stops you skidding off. So what they've done now is they've just realized that when you had an engine will power the wheels in a certain way with axles and the diff boxes and all that kind of shit. So they'll have so they obviously they power the wheels in a certain way. Now with electric, see, this is the key with electric, what they're able to do. Where was the other one gone? But I don't know. When it's electric, basically they have an electric motor at each wheel. Now knowing that each wheel was powered by its own motor, you don't have a drive shaft connected to a differential. It just does its own thing. That does its own thing. Obviously add that to the fact when you spin the wheel faster on one side to the other, the car moves. They make all four do the right movement at the right time, and then you have vehicles doing 360s. So it's a little bit of evolution in there, in that obviously it's the electric that's brought them to this conclusion that we can put powertrain at each wheel, make them spin in different directions, make the car spin. But yeah, it goes back down to reverse engineering. So you see that in phones, in TVs, especially in cars and vehicles, and things you buy like that. They take the item, they dismantle it, and they'll do their own thing. You think day one that they put the car out on the market, whoever's done it first, someone else that's rich will, company, they'll come along and buy it straight away, take it to their workshop, dismantle it, look inside. Ah, so you done that today. So you can't really do that with food. You can't reverse engineer an ingredients because you eat someone's recipe and you say, wow, that tastes amazing. But you can't really reverse engineer it unless they tell you what's in it. So, that's why a secret recipe is a secret recipe unless you give it to someone. So you see reverse engineering in warfare, you see it in technology all around you. And then obviously it comes really back down to the human and the environment around us. Obviously, don't forget the Most High had the blueprint. He gave it to Yahweh Shai. Spirits were made, the earth was made, humans, animals, ecosystems, so on and so forth. And you witness that today, and you look around you. But when you look at a lot of the things, like I say, Esau is wiser than Daniel. A lot of the things he's actually got, he just reverse engineered things, and a lot of the things he's reverse engineered are the things that initially were made by the Most High and put here. The Most High made things, or, like when I say that, obviously, I mean, the Most High gave the blueprint to Yahweh Shai. Things are made. Esau has clocked that, and obviously with that, he's just gone and replicated it. But people look at Esau, like Revelation chapter 13. It says he will come, make fire come down from heaven in the sight of men. And so what happens on this earth? Men look up to these Edomites. They say, wow, you've got this amazing industry, technology, these inventions. And that's what makes people like the Far East want to reverse engineer their products, the Middle East, so on and so forth. Don't forget, the book of Joel says, let the weak say I am strong. So we have nations like Iran, the Middle East, they're getting hold of these weapons. They're able to reverse engineer, make their own. And now it nullifies the power that you had over them by having those particular weapons, because now they have your weapons. But like you look at something basic like this, obviously this is quite obvious. Coming from a design of Yahweh, Bashim, Yahweh Shai, we have the human body. You can't tell me, you can't argue that that's anybody else's design but the Most High's. And nobody in the history of humans on the planet Earth ever could make a a good claim to say that no, actually it was them instead. So you got, like, for example, diggers. Diggers is just copied from a human being. You have you have a shoulder here. Basically, the guy sits here. He controls the arm. The arm has a shoulder and it has a bicep. You know, point one to two, point A to B. We have a bicep, and then we have a forearm, and then we have a wrist because it bends at this point here. After the wrist, what do you have? You have a hand. Well, this one has a grabber. A grabber is to do what a hand would do. You look in the middle. What's this? This is the hydraulic system. This is just a bicep. That is your bicep, and it works by hydraulic fluid pumping through it and then allowing it to do its job with power. Without that, there would be no power, and if the hydraulic line bursts, again it will lose its power. So this is no different from the human arm, and obviously this is this is Esau reverse engineering. But it goes deep, obviously. I mean, you've got camera lenses. We know what they're for. We have lenses in our eyes. So Esau is, taking it slowly, slowly takes it deeper and deeper. He's taken an eyeball. Esau has taken an eyeball and cut it open and decided to look inside it and see what it is and see if he can replicate it. He's a madman. You've got to be a madman to think like that. Yeah, solar panels. I keep saying it all the time. These Edomites, they sliced up blades of grass to find out what's inside them. To find out what's inside, and then now he tries to replicate it, and he did. He did that. He created a solar panel. Solar panel takes on sunlight, stores it, turns it to energy, which is exactly what the flower would do. Going back to Psalms, chapter 19, it says, in them have he set a tabernacle for the sun. And so I think Apostle Tahar went into this previously. You got the satellites, which are up in space, and they, up in the atmosphere, and they are sending these signals, these internet signals, back and forth. That's how it says in their words, to the end of the world. That's how our words get to the end of the world, through the satellites. The satellites are up there operating how? Through the sunlight, through the solar energy that they absorb through the sunlight. So here it is. You're looking at the satellite, and the satellite is just trying to replicate what the flower does, what the plant does, what the leaf does. And Esau worked that out. Like I say, he cut these up in half. He finds out what's inside, and he worked out how to replicate exactly what it does. You look at that. That looks natural, green, like it's supposed to be here. This is just like, where did you get this from? This is some next construction, and this is what Esau's about. You've got the Most High's world, we've got Esau's world, and right now unfortunately we're experiencing Esau's world. So like Esau, he looks at the animals, the plane versus the bird design. Birds and planes have different designs for a number of reasons. Well, the first reason is that Esau couldn't exactly replicate a bird exactly for what it does. If he could have, he would have, but he can't. And that's why, including how they generate thrust and shape of their wings and how they take off and land. Thrust. Birds generate thrust by beating their wings, while planes use propellers or turbines. So Esau worked out that this little bird is flapping its wings, it's catching onto the wind, it's getting up into the air, and then when it gets to a certain point, it can straighten its wings to glide. So he said, I need to do that. So he made a plane. He can't get the wings to move, so he creates a turbine to sit under the wing, suck in air, and blow it out the back. That's all it does. Takes in air, sucks it out the back, but it's doing it so fast that you've now got a jet stream, a mini jet stream under your jet wing with the jet engine. So it's just reverse engineering. You looked at a bird, you looked at what they do, you don't know how it got here, you don't know who made that thing, who made that, you don't know. Where's the blueprint for that? You don't know. Yahushai has it, but Esau doesn't have it. So what Esau does is he reverse engineers, and he says, well, we need to create a wind underneath these wings, and he's able to do it. Um, it says, take off and landing, birds raise their wings to create low pressure, which allows them to lift off. Airplanes use a similar method for takeoff and landing. Wing motion, most modern airplanes have fixed wings, but they have flaps that move up and down. Scientists are working on wings that can morph and move like a bird's wings. That's just a pipe dream. Some larger aircrafts like Airbus fighter jets use their tails to generate lift. This is becoming more relevant for smaller aircrafts as well. Yeah, so it's all reverse engineered from the Most High's design. I was looking at the sundial, but it's not really reverse engineering. It's see, when you want an example of evolution, then that's what the sundial would be, because the sun was there first. They realized if they put the sundial up, they can, count 12 portions of the day. And then they decided, well, if we just divide those 12 portions in a day and get a clock, a battery, hands, and from there you got a clock. So it's not really reverse engineering. But back to the body. The human body is a circuit of systems. You've got electrical circuit around your body. You've got these electrical impulses. You've got a dietary system. You eat food, it goes in one end, it comes out the other, or it's supposed to. And so on and so forth. You have to hydrate yourself. So this is like a system. In a way, it's like a mini ecosystem, like the Earth. You have to maintain it at optimum level to to feel the benefits, which is now impossible in the environment that we live in. So yeah, so when I was thinking of the electric, actually, we have electrical impulse in the human. I was wondering actually about the MOTB. Revelation chapter 13 talks about a device under the skin in order to buy or sell. That is the RFID. It says, how do RFID microchip batteries charge? That was kind of what I was wondering. Radio frequency identification. Microchips can be either passive or active, and they charge differently depending on their types. Passive tags. These tags don't have a battery and instead rely on external power source, like the radio waves from an RFID reader. Where an RFID tag is close to the reader's electromagnetic field powers the tag's circuits for a short time. Passive RFID tags are often used for access control. And then you have active. These tags have a battery that powers their circuitry. Active RFID tags can transmit data over longer distances and for longer periods of time than passive tags. They are often used for tracking, like supply chain management. So you get like a lorry of goods. They want to keep track on it. They'll put an active RFID tag on there to track this particular item or items. Passive tags, they don't need power. It says that when the RFID tag is close to the reader's electromagnetic field powers the tag. So the the actual thing that's reading it, that powers the electromagnetic field of that powers the tag circuit for a short time. Passive RFID tags are often used as access control. So that's probably what they'll have. You won't have to interact with the body or anything. It was a question I was wondering, but what Esau's doing, you see kind of like where I'm leading you. Esau's this reverse engineering. You can start off on a basic level. You can look at a digger and say, well, look, that's an arm. Oh yeah, Esau reverse engineered the arm, made a mechanical version. You got lenses, solar panels, cutting up blades of grass. And so what's happening is things get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And so now we're at the point where many people have heard of nanobots, but have you heard of nano-organisms in humans? And this is from AI. Nanobacteria are organisms that have been found in humans and other animals and are thought to be a distinct form of life. The size, they're saying 0.2 micrometers, location, have been found in many human and animal bodily fluids, including blood, saliva, and urine. Characteristics difficult to culture and have a long doubling time. They are also cytotoxic, similar to some mycobacteria. Potential health risks. Some researchers have linked nanobacteria to disease such as kidney stones, cancer, um, I'm not going to say that, arthritis, and Alzheimer's disease. So what it is, Esau's gone that deep, even in humans now. He understands what nanobacteria is a nano-organism. There are other nano-organisms within you. So when certain things happen, certain things change within your body. Something happens, you get angry, a chemical reaction. That's what we call it. We're spiritual people. We don't have really the need to sit here and slice open up a human being and find out what's happening inside. But Esau does that. So we know when we get pissed off, we have this an emotion or whatever, we feel this certain way, and then it reacts, it has a knock-on effect, we feel it, and we say, no, I shouldn't go down that route or whatever. But Esau, he's gone to the level of working it out. And so he'll go into the human and he'll find out, oh, you've got these nano-organisms. And that's where the idea for nanobots came from. He realizes, oh, okay. And so people were worried about that juice in 2020 and 2021. Was there any, bots in there? And it's the product of reverse engineering, but not just reverse engineering, but yet again reverse engineering the, the blueprint or the creation of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. So, like I say, Esau is wiser than Daniel, but it's not that because he's some great inventor. It's because he's able to look at things on a minute scale and find out what they are, realize what they are, and then either use them for himself or manipulate them. He does it using reverse engineering. So, like I say, you go through various stages of reverse engineering, looking at the human body, making an arm, making it into a digger. Esau gets closer and closer, smaller and smaller, into more details. So we look up examples of reverse engineering the human body. It says here, scientists have reconnected a paralyzed man's brain to his body by bypassing the damaged spinal cord, marking the first time a paralyzed patient has been able to regain movement in his own body using signals that originated within the brain. So, you go back to, like I say here, for example, Esau has told us, through his reverse engineering, that that electricity runs through the body. Where do you think they get the idea of electrical circuits? You go into your house and you've got current, you've got cables bringing current to switches, power, and then you have earth cables coming in so that they stop you getting electrocuted, so on and so forth. This is all part of an electrical circuit. So where do you think the design came from to get that? It came from the human body. Esau reverse engineered the human body, realized there's this thing, this impulse, discovered what electricity is, and then pretty much turned it into a physical thing, in that Just like when you see the leaf and the solar panel, you look at the human body, it looks all natural. It's hard to see how someone could even imagine to even design that type of machinery. Yeah, Esau's done it, but then he's done it in a way that you see it on an electrical circuit. You switch it. It's amazing, but it's not as fascinating as the human body, obviously. So Esau wants to be like the Most High. That's where it's taken us towards the MOTB. So knowing that now, you got electrical circuits in your car. Maybe the windscreen wiper doesn't work or something. I don't know. And then the mechanic might say you need this relay. You say, oh, we can't get the relay because it's a really old car. So what now? I need the wipers to work. So the mechanic might say, I tell you what, I can rewire it and bypass the relay. And we'll just run a new cable from here to the wiper, and it will make the wiper work without the relay. So it's the same thing. The mechanic might say, look, I'll run you a new cable. Your wipers will work. You just won't have the variation of speed. You won't have slow, medium, or fast. You'll just have it at one speed. And it's the same thing that Esau does. He reverse engineered the human body. He says, look, you're paralyzed. Um, we can reconnect your brain to your, to the body by bypassing the spinal cord. We'll rewire it, and we'll take those electrical signals and we'll install them, make them reach their destination via a new route. And so this goes back into like the MOTB, how he then, these people wander after him, and then with his technology, and then when it comes to the MOTB, part of it will be merging AI with humans to better your health conditions, which most of the health conditions are created by the poor environment that we live in. Esau could easily just control that and fix that and improve it, but nah, he'd rather I've got to be careful. He'd rather make money out of you by sending you to pharmakeia, and then he wants to reverse engineer. He's come up with his AI, this way of AI, of you know reverse engineering, understanding how the human works. He's gone, like I say, he's gone down to the nano organism level. That's why he then had the idea to come up with nanobots. Understanding the electrical impulse and messages being sent around the body has helped Esau to reconnect a paralyzed man's brain to his body by bypassing the damaged spinal cord. So, there's a couple of pages here that I looked into. Reverse engineering human biology with organ on chips. And, you've heard of the the micro C hip. Well, this is the organ on chips. Um, I'm not going to read all of this, but I'll just start this second paragraph here. Basically, it says, while some suggest that the devices oversimplify human biology by reverse engineering organ structure, so this is what they do. They've able to reverse engineer organ structure. It says the chips have been able to reconstitute complex organ level functions, which has led to new insights into what is and what isn't necessary for life to function. He wants to be like the Most High. It says in a commentary published March the 10th in Cell, part of a special issue of the Biology of Communication, Donald Ingber, director of Wiz Institute for Biology and Spine Engineering at Harvard University, describes how organs on chips offer a powerful new way to analyze organ function and human pathophysiology. Is in addition to providing a potential way to replace animal testing and advance personalized medicine. So they'll do animal testing, so on and so forth. Now they've got a new thing that they've advanced. Esau has become wiser, and so now he won't just look at the arm and say, well, let's just make a digger out. We can copy that and make a digger. He's gone, actually, now let's put these chips in people, and what does it say? And reconstitute complex organ level functions. And so that ultimately it's like playing he wants to play the Most High. Um, reverse engineering again, reverse engineering human pathophysiology with organ on chips. Reverse engineering is the process of extracting basic design information, usually from a man-made system or device. And in this case, it says usually, but in this case, it's coming from a device made by a higher power, which is the human. And like I said, the Most High had the blueprint, gave it to Yahweh Shai, and here we are. We have the world and everything within it. It says here, and using this knowledge to reproduce a new equivalent or improved technology. This process usually involves disassembling the device and analyzing its components and workings in detail. And this is precisely what biologists have been doing with living systems for the past century. But rather than trying to identify key component parts or mechanisms, as in the main focus of biology, so that's what biology is. It looks at the key components and mechanisms of the body, and so, for example, that's how they understand. We can make a digger, and we just need a skeleton. We need certain points of movement: a shoulder, elbow, wrist, and we need basic functions. So we need a grabber to do the function of a hand. We need a hydraulic to do the function of the bicep, and um, that's the main the main focus of biology. And then they use that, obviously they reverse engineer, they use that to replicate machinery. Reverse engineering seeks to identify the minimal set of design principles that are necessary to reconstitute relevant functions of the whole. So it's one thing to, you know, somebody dies, you cut open their arm, you find out how it works, you can recreate it. But now he's reverse engineering to a level where he wants to reconstitute relevant functions of the whole. This is virtually all organs contain an interface between a paren- parenchymal tissue, e.g., epithelium, connective tissue, nerve tissue, and a vascular tissue, blood vessel, that perfuses the organ with crucial oxygen and nutrients, delivers immune cells, and transfers chemical, molecular, and hormonal signals from one organ to another. All organs also experience characteristic mechanical forces, e.g., cyclic strain, compression, shear, as well as neuroelectrical cues that are crucial for normal organ physiology. So they've worked it out, they've gone in there and they've got the mechanics of an organ, and they know, oh, when this happens, like I say, something happens to you, and I'm angry. This is why I'm angry. I'm getting hot. I'm getting hot because I'm angry, and then you try to deal with it. You know, and we understand that process. We understand we go through these processes in different ways. We just understand it through the spirit. But Esau has to go to that level where he understands how the organs are talking to each other in that moment, and that's why you feel hot, or you feel this way, or your chest gets tight. You have an anxious moment, or so on and so forth. Um, yeah, these are cues that are crucial for normal organ physiology. Thus, if one were to reverse engineer an organ, it would be critical to reconstitute characteristic tissue to tissue interfaces. So they're talking about the human like it's a computer. And this is where, merging that AI with man. It says here, ensure vascular perfusion and provide an organ relevant physical microenvironment. So these are the precise minimal design principles that inspired the development of organ on chips, which now permit in, in vitro analysis of how cells collaborate with human tissue and organs to regulate normal physiology, as well as promote disease development. So design these are the precise design principles. This is design principle is what exists on a blueprint. The blueprint comes from Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, and Esau is reverse engineering it. He's gone way beyond the digger. He's gone into the nano level, and again, this sort of like you know, this is makes you think of the MOTB. So I'm not actually showing anything that says, "Oh, look, this screams MOTB," oh, buying and selling, device under the skin. But you can see where Esau's going with it. We understand what happened in 2020 and 2021. Okay, it was a test run for what's going to happen. The time of great temptation. However, there's also an experiment going on, and who knows what was put into people's systems. So, but the bottom line is, would you trust somebody who's able to who understands and manipulates design principles? And so this is how we get into the end, because at no point in human history have we ever been, Esau's been this wise. Has anybody been this wise? He's broken down. Now think about it, right? The humans got here, and whenever humans were first here, there's never been anything else but what the Most High put here, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Everything then the humans produced after that, it never came from anywhere else. You look at a car, yeah, this car looks like it's from space, but it never came from space. Oh, they call it titanium and this and that. They call it all these names. It makes you think it's from some outer space galaxy. It came from the Earth. Every item that you see, where did the substance come from? Your phone, your car, your house, came from the ground. Like they say things don't grow on trees. Well, rubber does grow on trees. But then how do you get rubber into a tire, into a car tire? So Esau understands this, and he went on that level. Then he started looking at the human. He started, yeah, I can turn, I can make a digger, replicate the human. And now we're so far down the line. Esau is at a point where he understands design principles of the human. So it's like the Most High is allowing him slowly into some of his secrets in terms of design principles, and what it's doing. It's all leading us down that road of the MOTB. Esau thinks he's a madman. He thinks he can control humans, and he's so close to doing it with all this, the MOTB coming up, all that kind of stuff. That's how we're at the end, because what's left after that? If Esau's allowed to carry on with these, reverse engineering design principles of the human organs, he's allowed to get that device under your skin in order to buy or sell, it'd be a wrap. And then, he'd obviously he'd break prophecy and all that kind of stuff, but then there'd be no coming back. That's why really, that dystopian scenario can't really go on for too long. Once the chip gets made mandatory, Yahushua has to come back, quite, very, very quickly after that. Say quickly could be weeks, maybe a couple of months max. But it's going to be a time where spiritual intervention, people are going to be struggling. So for the elect's sake, the time will be made short. But yeah, reverse engineering the human brain by growing neural circuits in the lab. And I think I mentioned this before. Around that time, 2020 and 2021, there was this article, and I said, what Esau is trying to do is like he wants to create a circuit. He understands the circuit of the human. He can bypass parts of you. You could actually go to Esau and say, "Oh, I don't want my spinal cord to be active anymore. Can you bypass it?" And he'll stick some, he'll rewire you somehow, and you'll be walking. You'll be walking with one leg stiff, one leg's bending, one leg stiff, but you'll be going, "Oh, I'm walking." He can do that. Reverse engineering the human brain by growing neural circuits in the lab. So you have these neural circuits in your brain. I remember going into this previously, and it sends messages around the brain, and that's how you have these electrical impulses, and it's like a web around your brain. And then Esau is able to regrow that. It says here by growing, they grow them. That's how this guy is a fucking madman. He's growing neural circuits in a lab. He's growing a brain in a dish. He's got that ability to do that. And this is 2022. This is old. This is not even new. Um, Neuroscientists face a paradox. The field aims to understand the mysteries of the human mind by studying the actual human brain cells and circuits that produce our mental lives. It says, and how they go awry from neuropsychiatric disease is incredibly challenging. After all, the brain is packed away carefully in our skulls, and people typically don't part with samples of their brain tissue lightly. Over the past decade, Wu Sai Neurosciences Institute faculty affiliate Sergio Pascal and his team of collaborators have pioneered transformational new techniques to grow simplified human brain circuits in the lab from human stem cells, allowing them for the first time to study the assembly and wiring of the human brain and the molecular rules that orchestrate it in real time. So, you look at your body and it's your flesh, it's this natural thing, you're trying to look after it. Esau's looking at you like a machine. He's going, well, if I dismantle that part and reattach it over there, I can make it work in this fashion. I mean, I even had it, I had an injury where like I cut my tendon on my thumb, so my thumb wouldn't operate. And then eventually I got the surgery. It took them 2 weeks to realize what, like, I was telling the truth. I was like, "Look, I've cut my hand," and they were like, "No, it'll still start working again." And I was like, "No, it's not going to start working. It's disconnected on the inside." But they weren't listening. But anyway, eventually they realized it, and then they said, "Look, because it's been 2 weeks, we might not be able to repair it. We're going to open up your hand. We're going to look for the tendon, and we're going to try and reattach it. But sometimes they curl up, and they start to curl up and disappear back where they came from because they're like elastic." So he said to me, "Oh, the doctor said to me, if we can't do that, if we can't reattach it," which they did. They reattached it in the end. You can literally see where it overlaps on itself to stitch it together. But he said if that didn't work, he goes, we could borrow the one. And I was like, "Oh, okay, here we go. He's going to borrow one, right?" I said, "So where are you going to borrow it from?" He goes, "Oh, well, we borrow it from the palm of your hand. We borrow it on the back of your hand." And what he said is, for each finger, you've got two of these going, two tendons, because your finger bends twice, right? You bend it at the, one joint. You bend it at the like your knuckle, and then you bend it at your finger. You can bend it again. So what it is, you've got two, basically, on each finger of your four fingers. And he said, "Oh, look, if we can't find that one, we'll just borrow it from here. We'll open that bit up. We'll take one out. We'll cut a piece and we'll reattach it over there." And then he said, "So you'll be able to use your hand as normal, but maybe, you won't be able to straighten your finger. One finger that we borrowed it from, you won't be able to straighten it, or you won't be able to put it in this position." And I thought, "Oh, here we go." So, you know, um, all praises to the Most High. Obviously, he said he found it. So, when he opened me up, he found it. He reattached it. He put it back together. So on and so forth. So Esau deal with you like, it's just a repair job. We just go in, we patch it up, we do the best we can, and we tell the customer, "Look, we did what we could." But here now, like, you've got lab-grown neuronal organoids allows scientists to study how different parts of the developing brain wire together. And so what it is, they literally grow parts of the brain and see how they interact and see how messages go back and forth when something happens. They inflict a bit of pain here, see how this part reacts. Esau's a madman. I mean, you could read, I could go on a reading. I'm not reading all this, but you pretty much get the point. I mean, the blueprint came from the Most High Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, and Esau, all he does is reverse engineer. They, like I say, you've got in the Middle East, they'll get hold of a US weapon, and then on the news you'll see the militant groups surrounding the vehicle, cheering, having a parade, popping their shots in the air, celebrating what they've what they've got. But then at some point they hand it over to somewhere like Iran or whoever, and it will work its way into the hands of a mechanical engineer. Esau has that engineering mentality. That's what made him wise. He's able to reverse engineer the things around him to produce more things that we see that he's able to wow the world with. The chief engineer is the Most High Yahweh, and he gave the blueprint to Yahweh Shai, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. So you have here AI overview again on Google. Mechanical engineer does what? It says it designs, builds, and maintains mechanical systems and machines. So the human body is a machine. Within it, there are mechanical systems, and the Most High, made it in a way that you can maintain that. Obviously, through your intake, through breathing, through food, through drinking water, and so on and so forth. Even when you look at a car, a car engine needs three things to run. It needs air, it needs a spark, and it needs fuel. And so again, this is a reverse engineering of the human, because the human, you're going to need food, which is your fuel. You're going to need air to breathe, and you're going to need a heartbeat. And the heartbeat is designed with an electrical impulse, which is what the ignition system is. It gives a spark, and then you have fuel. Obviously, you just eat, and the air. You cut off the air for a car, the engine dies. You cut off your air, and lo and behold, you're probably going to die. Or not that you will, probably you will. So that's another part of reverse engineering. So, but yeah, back to this point, a mechanical engineer designs, builds, and maintains mechanical systems and machines. The chief engineer is the Most High. He had that blueprint. Design mechanical engineers. It just goes into whatever. I mean, you could start. They start breaking it down into various parts, but the Most High. He's not an engineer in one particular area. He's the engineer of everything. Everything you see around you. All I keep saying is the ecosystem, the humans, the things around you. But I mean, you could go on all day. Look at the things around you. You can see for yourself. I don't need to name every single little thing. For me, the fascinating thing that obviously discovering when understanding this truth is the fact that how he controls people, sending the spirits out, angels. They work on the minds of men, women and children, and he makes things that the Most High makes things come to pass. So that is, what else would you expect a Most High to do? All these other religions out there, they got all these Most Highs and these gods that they call on, these certain messiahs. When they break down their gods to you, they never come up with this high level of intelligence or understanding about their Most High. So does it really sound like a Most High? See, when we tell you about our Most High, Yahweh, Bashim, Yahweh Shai, we tell you of high level details. And so, we can show you, work it all back. Everything around you goes back to the Most High, the blueprint, chief engineer, who designs, builds, and maintains mechanical systems and machines. You don't look at yourself as a machine because Esau gave you the description of a machine. But really, you're a machine just as much as the car is a machine. Just as much as the eco is a machine. It operates, it does its thing. It's a system of events, a circuit. These all things are all pretty much the same. But the other thing outside of that is the scriptures. We've addressed things of the world, but what about the scriptures? See, we reverse engineer the scriptures. These words were spoken thousands of years ago. A lot of these things have come to pass, nearly pretty much all of them, apart from a couple of few major prophecies. We're here today. We have the Holy Spirit on us. And that allows us to, what do? We see events happening around us. Then we see the events with our eyes. We see these physical things. We say, wow, look at that happening over there. We then go to the scriptures. We reverse engineer, because then we show you the original speakings of these prophecies. So, when Apostle Tahar's breaking down the MOTB, I don't know what led him to to fall into that type of thinking. But obviously, he looks around, he looks at the world, he looks at the technology, he sees things heading in a certain way. That gives him understanding. Don't forget, when you came to this truth, you already live. So you have an experience of the world. You understand the world. That's the only thing you do understand. Then we hit you with this truth. We say, oh, by the way, you're a Hebrew Israelite. This is why you go through these problems. And then what happens? It comes back to that Psalms chapter 19. Now, you could hear this word through the internet, as it's spoken of here. The satellites, in them hath he set out a tabernacle for the sun, but it's also light. You find this truth, you find the light. It says here, which is as a bridegroom coming out of his chamber. You're like, yes, I waited all this time. Or maybe you didn't know, maybe you just couldn't understand the world. And then you find out you're a Hebrew Israelite. This is the identity that they kept from you. That particular moment when it actually first hit you which is a bridegroom coming out of his chamber. You're like, wow, glorious. This is amazing. And it says, and rejoiceth as a strong man to run a race. Because when a strong man's running his race, he's pumping his fists and he's going to psych himself up. And this word psychs you up. You realize, you find out, wow, I'm a Hebrew Israelite. You find out what tribe you're from. You find out why you have these particular characteristics. You get deeper into the scriptures, obviously, eventually. Whether you stay in this or not, it's another thing, or how deep you go into it. But a lot of people have this particular moment, that bridegroom coming out of his chamber and rejoiceth as a strong man, as to run a race, pumping his fists. So, we have these particular moments. We live, we see what's going on around us. Then someone hits you with the truth, and then it makes sense. The person who hit you with the truth, he reverse engineered your life. He took all the little bits and said, without even knowing it in detail, oh, you're an Israelite. Oh, okay. And then you look through the curses, he's going to be hit with a number of them. So at some point, when you run through them, at some point he's going to go, yeah, that happened to me. That happened to me. Oh, so here it is. I don't know you that well, but because I can kind of see in the spirit you're an Israelite, you're saying you are of a certain nationality, and then one of these curses is going to, send alarm bells ringing in your head. So you live it, and then the prophet reverse engineers your life today to shows you the original speakings, the blueprint in the scriptures. So we do that with prophecy. Obviously we speak of them as they come to pass. We tell you they're going to happen. We don't know how they're going to happen, but we know they're going to happen. And when they happen, we reverse engineer it all backwards. We say, well, here's the event. Here's what's happening on the news. You can see what they're saying to and fro, left and right. Here's the scripture. Here's the blueprint. You want the history in between? We'll even do that. We can dismantle any religion. I've said that before. You take any religion out there. If it's not of this belief system of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, it's not the true belief system. For that reason, we're able to dismantle it, break it up down into the nuts and bolts of this particular belief system, show you that these nuts and bolts don't even fit properly, repack it back up in the box, and tell you to return it to sender. We can dismantle your religion. So what's that doing? That's reverse engineering. You're living your religion today, you're yes, this, that, and the other. And we'll break it back down to the nuts and bolts. We'll reverse engineer it. We'll take it apart. We'll scatter all the bits out on the floor, and we'll look at all the parts and we'll go, look, this part was shit. This part was shit. Oh, they use crap quality over here. Oh, these nuts and bolts don't even fit properly. And then we'll tell you, just pack it up in the box, return to sender. Reverse engineering, and it's the Holy Spirit that allows us to, we work forwards. You can work forwards from history to now, or we can work backwards, and we do that all the time. So that's reverse engineering. But before I go, I'm going to hit you with 1 Corinthians chapter 2. Apostle Paul says here, Paul's reliance upon the Spirit. We rely on the Spirit. I mean, Apostle Paul, he never met Yahushai. and then he had a spiritual encounter, and then he believed on it, and then he relied on that spiritual encounter. He couldn't rely on a physical meeting with Yahushua, and it's pretty much the same thing today. We can break this down to you. It's through the spirit whether you're going to understand it and see it. That light that I just mentioned, some people don't see it. So, we're like Paul in that, we haven't seen Yahushua in this lifetime. We haven't met him. There's nothing, all these governing bodies out there, these institutions that are very financially stable. None of them come out and say, "Oh, you're right, everything's okay, don't worry about it." And we have to believe it through the Spirit, and it's kind of like we're all doing exactly kind of what Apostle Paul had to do. But this is 1 Corinthians chapter 2, and it says, "And I, brethren, when I came to you, came not with excellency of speech or wisdom, declaring unto you the testimony of the Most High." It says, "For I determined not to know anything among you, say Yahushua the Anointed, and him crucified. And I was with you in weakness, and in fear, and in much trembling." It says, "And my speech and my preachings was not with enticing words of man's wisdom, but in demonstration of the Spirit and of power." So even now, for example, you know, we're not educated, we don't have degrees of this world, but we're able to look at this stuff, all this stuff Esau's got, man's wisdom, and the wisdom that you see around you in the world, the technology, it wows people, it wows them, but it doesn't wow us because we look at it and we reverse engineer it. We go, well, that's just a copycat of the Most High's creation on a minute level, and so that's why we preach the words of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. We see that in demonstration of the Spirit and of power. It says that your faith should not stand in the wisdom of men, but in the power of the Most High. So howbeit we speak wisdom among them that are perfect, yet not the wisdom of this world, nor the princes of this world that come to naught. And that's why I say we look at the things around us. It looks amazing. Esau's got this technology, but we can see the blueprints, and you just copied the blueprint of the Most High. And when the Most High is ready, you see, this is why the Most High can just do away with everything in the world. It don't mean nothing to him, because everything that's got, he'll just give you the spirit to recreate it if he really wants it. So in the time of the flood, he done away with everything. The only wisdom and knowledge left on this planet Earth after the great flood, in the days of Noah, were the wisdom and knowledge of just 8 people. And 4 of those are wives. Yeah, 4 of those are wives. So the Most High can just do away with everything. And we lost the blueprints. Don't worry about the blueprints. The Most High is the blueprint. He's got the blueprint, and he'll hand out the blueprint whenever he wants. We receive that through Yahushua. That's through the reconciliation, that obviously being reconciled to Yahushua, but it all comes through the word of the Most High. It says that your faith should not stand in the wisdom of men, but in the power of the Most High. It says, howbeit we speak wisdom among them that are perfect. I've read this already. Yeah, that come to naught. It says, but we speak the wisdom of the Most High in a mystery, even the hidden wisdom, which the Most High ordained before the world unto our glory. And so we talk about these prophecies, we break it down, we tell you about the first fruits, the beginning, where we're at now, reincarnation, so on and so forth, and the kingdom of heaven, which none of the princes of this world knew, for had they known it, they would not have crucified the Lord of glory. Obviously, Apostle Paul's talking about his day, but those kings, they're all the princes, of this world. They're all back here today. Like Nero, for example, he's we believe him to be Donald Trump, and Nero's back in office, to usher in the MOTB, so on and so forth. But it says here, but as it is written, eye hath not seen, nor ear heard, neither have entered into the heart of man. It says the things which the Most High have prepared for them that love him. It says, but the Most High have revealed them unto us by his Spirit. It says, for the Spirit searches all things, yea, the deep things of the Most High. It says, for what man knoweth the things of a man, save the spirit of a man which is in him? Even so the things of the Most High knoweth no man, but the Spirit of the Most High. So, if we know things of the Most High, but the things of the Most High knoweth no man, that means we don't have the spirit of a man. It means we have the spirit of a power. It says, but the spirit of a power. So so the things of the Most High knoweth no man, but the Spirit of the Most High. So we have to have the Spirit of the Most High in order to understand these things. It says, now we have received not the spirit of the world, but the Spirit which is of the Most High, that we might know the things that are freely given to us of the Most High. It says, which things also we speak, not in the words which man's wisdom teacheth, but which the Holy Spirit teacheth, comparing spiritual things with spiritual. It says, but the natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of the Most High, for they are foolishness unto him, neither can he knoweth them, because they are spiritually discerned. It says, but he that is spiritual judgeth all things, yet he himself is judged of no man. It says, for who hath known the mind of the Lord, that he may instruct him? But we have the mind of the anointed. And I've always said, if we've got the Holy Spirit working on our minds, you think of Yahweh Shai in his day. He did his thing, and he had a mindset, he had a personality, and that was him. What he did, he was perfect in the law. He did his ministry, and whatever he did, he was one person. He was, obviously in the spirit, he was one mind. And so that mind, obviously, Apostle Paul talks about it, the Holy Spirit being one gift given to many, but with, different aspects to it. So that gift, the Holy Spirit, is the mind of Yahweh Shai that allows us to see things in his way, in his viewpoint, that what he wants us to see, and be able to break it down. That's why we can look at this world and say, okay, we're not worried about it. It doesn't wow us. It doesn't it's interesting. We see things. Some things you could say are fascinating to actually witness certain things, but overall, we know that the Most High can do away with all this, and he's got the blueprint to recreate it, but better. And as Apostle Paul said, we don't even know. What verse 9? Hang on. Verse 9 says, but as it is written, I have not seen, nor ear heard, neither have entered into the heart of man, or the mind of man, the things which the Most High have prepared for them that love him. So, even though we have the mind of Yahweh Shai, and we're able to see this understanding, we still can't even imagine what the Most High has prepared for us in the kingdom. So then you think of the blueprint for that. That's a next blueprint. This whole blueprint for this, what we've seen up until now, that will be done away. There'll be a new blueprint. Obviously, scriptures do speak of that in little bits going into the future, but obviously, that it's way beyond what we understand or know at the minute. So, that was kind of looking into reverse engineering. It's happening all around you, and if you're a true prophet, if you're speaking the scriptures, you're seeing events happening around you, and then you're reverting back to the original blueprint within the scriptures of these prophecies, then you're reverse engineering. You see it in the technology wars around you. You see it in warfare. You see it in these everyday items around you, so on and so forth. Esau's got down to the level where he's on these nano organisms, design principles of the human body, and that's how we're at the end. But the chief mechanic is Yahweh, Bashim Yahweh Shai. He has the blueprint. He gave that to Yahweh Shai, and that's pretty much it. So I hope that's edifying. I'm gonna leave it right there. Until next time, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim, Rakak Wadash. Until next time, Shalom.